Hi everybody, thank you for tuning into my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Bayang. Um, my last video that I made, I wanted to share a little bit of the behind the scenes and my experience chairing the Hmong Heritage Month virtual conference that just happened on April 24th, not too long ago. So I will leave a link down below to those who have not seen the conference yet. So please make sure to check that out. I would love to hear, any kind of feedback that you guys might have. So please leave a comment below on how you guys think the event went. So let's get into it. All right, so before I go into my experience specifically, I just want to share a little bit of history about what Hmong Heritage Month is. So April of 1976 was when the first Hmong family arrived in the state of Wisconsin. And so Hmong Heritage Month was celebrated annually to celebrate this moment. So starting in April 2004 all the way until 2016, Hmong Heritage Month was celebrated. And so it originally was called Hmong History Month, and at some point along the way, it changed to Hmong Heritage Month. I'm not sure when. I wasn't here in central Wisconsin yet when that happened. So all I know is that that did happen over time. So during this time that it was celebrated, there were many different events that occurred. A lot of committees did fundraising parties. Some people did cultural shows where they had fashion shows, cultural performances, people who played instruments. So many different ways. I believe in the beginning, one year, they actually did a parade where they had the committee participate in a parade, which was pretty cool. So yeah, a lot of different ways to celebrate these events depending on the committee. So it did stop being celebrated for a couple of years, and then in 2019 it was brought back, and that's when I got involved. All right, so my experience, the beginning. So in the fall of 2018, I actually was originally selected to be the vice chair of the Hmong Heritage Month Committee until the original chair had stepped down. So that's when I took over as chair. And the term is a 2-year term on the Hmong Heritage Month Committee. So I would be running it for 2 years, and then unless I decided to renew my term, then I could continue chairing the committee. So what I decided to do was something that had never been done before. The very first event that I did was also a conference in April of 2019. And I will talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. So because I really enjoyed the nature of the conference, I decided to do another one for the second event, which was originally supposed to happen in April of 2020, but it did get postponed to April of 2021 due to COVID-19. All right, so the first conference in April 2019. Here are some pictures. We actually held it at the Holiday Inn in Rothschild, Wisconsin. So it was pretty small. More locals attended this. We did have a few who came out of town, but it was more of a local event. We had about 60 attendees who came to this conference. It was held in person. There was a $25 admission charge. For a ticket, we did provide a lunch course meal with that, and we had Neng Nao as our keynote speaker. So for those of you who know Neng Nao, he's a really popular guy in the Hmong community who loves to travel all over the world, knows how to play many different Hmong instruments, and talks about many different Hmong traditions, cultures, and values. So please check him out on Facebook, on his Facebook page, Neng Nao. He is very active in the Hmong community. And being that he is among the younger generation, I was very proud of that. So I wanted him to come and share his experience at our conference. And so the picture on the right there is my committee. That year, there was only a few of us, and in addition to that, Yilang Zhang, the executive director of the Hmong American Center, is also on stage with us there. So just want to show a little bit of background on what that looked like there. All right, so the second conference in April of 2021. So of course we did go virtual, but the main thing I wanted to focus on was dreaming bigger. So I made a promise in an interview during the first year that I held the conference that I wanted to make it bigger and better for the next year. And so I did get some new committee members, and with that, some new ideas came. So, I always knew that, the first time around, you're just kind of getting started, but the second time, you kind of know where you need to improve and things that you could do better on. And so I just said, dream bigger and let's bring in some new ideas. And looking at this flyer, I hope that you guys kind of see, how big I really dreamt. I wanted to bring in several different people from different fields who I felt it was important to give a seat to at the table and give a voice to be able to inspire the next generation in the Hmong community. So this was what was accomplished the second time for the second conference. All right, so kind of going off of what I just talked about there, with the second conference, I wanted to focus on opportunities. And of course, Hmong culture, definitely very, very important to the Hmong community. So I wanted to bring some awareness to things that especially the younger generation may not be aware of. And so I brought in an expert on Hmong culture, who was also a professor at Fresno State College, to share his experiences and his expertise on things that the younger generation may not understand or may not realize. And so I felt that that was really important. Hmong dancers, I myself am a Hmong dancer, and now that many, many young boys and girls are getting involved with dance, I feel that it's important for those who are running dance academies or those who coordinate competitions, those who coach dancers. I feel it's important for them to have a voice, to be able to talk about their experiences, because there are a lot of things that the community doesn't understand about what goes on behind dancing. And I myself, as a dancer, I understand that, but I want the community as a whole to understand why we dance and why it's important to continue passing this tradition on to the next generation. Hmong athletes. So for this specifically, I brought on athletes who play either football or volleyball or soccer, any of the major sports that you see at our Hmong sports tournaments or our Hmong festivals, or even some Hmong New Year's that offer sports competitions. I felt that being that these sports attract so many people, it's definitely about the hype on the day of the festival or the New Year in which these games are happening. But so much goes on behind the scenes that we as a community don't see and we don't know about. And I myself learned a lot by watching the Hmong athletes during their panel discussion. Even though I am not a sports person myself, I was never good at sports. Physical education was probably my least favorite class in high school and middle school and so on. But I learned a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I gotta tell you, if they inspired me to that degree, I'm pretty sure they inspired a lot of other people who are either not involved in sports or are involved in sports and are looking to move up in their sports career. So my dream someday, or one of my dreams, I should say, is to be able to see a Hmong athlete make it to the mainstream. And I'm talking like NFL here. So that's one of my dreams now that I hope to see in my lifetime. So shout out to the Hmong athletes team, or to the Hmong athletes panel, and shout out to the Hmong dancers, shout out to the Hmong culture panel as well, along with that. So Hmong events, I myself have been part of the team that organizes Hmong events, and this includes festivals and New Year's. And I've also volunteered at many other New Year's as well. Wherever I can help out, I try my best to help out. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with that too, that the community does not know about or that they don't understand. And a lot of times, after doing these events, we get complaints, we get questions about why things are ran the way they are or why things operate the way they are. It's because of the system that we have and the system that we are working with. And I felt that it was very important for hosts of these events to be able to come out and share their experiences and what actually goes on behind the scenes and why things are done the way they are done. And so I felt it was important to have that panel. And again, great panel, very, very informative. And I know that a lot of people, a lot of things were cleared up about, questions that the community has a lot, especially about financials and transparency. So I really hope that you guys will check out this panel and, learn about how these Hmong events are ran. And last but not least, the Hmong music industry. Before I forget, I should have put this on here too, but our keynote speaker was Fong Yang. From the legendary Hmong band Paradise. He was also a part of the Hmong music industry panel as well. And so I apologize, Fong, if you see this. I did not list this on here, but yes, Fong Yang from Paradise band, legendary band in the Hmong community, was our keynote speaker for this year's conference. And so I was very proud to have him. Just because I felt that not only does he have, a voice as a celebrity, as an entertainer, but he is also a counselor. That's what he does for a job. And he was also part of the team that partnered with Microsoft in 2012 to create the first Hmong translator machine, which I felt was great and a huge stepping stone for bridging that gap between the Hmong community and the larger community. And so being a part of that team to do something that's never ever been done before, I just felt that that was awesome. And he's definitely passed on his education to his kids. I know that his daughter graduated as valedictorian from high school not too long ago, so congrats to you. And congrats to Fong and Misty for teaching your kids well, and being able to pass the importance of that education and that knowledge onto your kids. And so I feel that that's very important to have. And just having him share his story about Paradise, how the band started, all the members that the band has gone through, those who came in and those who left, the experiences of where they started and how they got to where they are today. Because it's been 31 years. Paradise started back in 1989, and this year, 2021, marks 31 years since they started. And I, for one, I can't believe that it's been that long. And for him to share that entire story, within a 30-minute presentation, there was just so much that I learned. And even though I myself am not a musician or a singer, I felt that if I learned that much and if I was inspired that much, it would definitely inspire somebody who's looking to become a musician or looking to go into some kind of career field that's similar to that. So thank you to Fong. So going on here to the Hmong music industry, which of course Fong was a part of that as well. Same thing. Great, knowledge, inspiration, very, very informative to the audience, and especially those who are looking to make it big, not only in the Hmong community, but possibly trying to get mainstream with music. So I just felt that it was extremely important to have their voice be heard as well, because everyone, even in the Hmong community, as small as we are, I will say that with the number of people trying to get their music out there, it's definitely competitive. Yes, there are resources today like social media and YouTube and the internet that allows us to get our voice out there, but everybody has access to those resources now. And so what you have is probably the same resource that someone else might have if it's free. So you really have to put in more than just that. And hearing these stories about, these guys who are producers, musicians, those who play instruments, those who write music, those who sing, hearing them talk about their experiences before social media, before the internet was developed the way it is now, they didn't have these resources. So they had to come out in person. All they could do was talk face to face, do things physically. They didn't just have a button where you could just click share, So I felt that that was very, very important to have. And I got a lot of great feedback from some musicians that I personally know about what they thought of the Hmong music industry panel and Fong's keynote speech. And it was the number one word that they used, the most common word they used was informative. And to me, that was all I needed to know, knowing that I had a great panel and great information that was put out there to help anybody. So very, very proud of that. All right, so with all the accomplishments, running a virtual event like this does not come without challenges. So the first thing I want to mention here is I had a very small committee. Including myself, we had 5 people on my committee. And granted, all of us have ran events before. Some of us even do it for a living. And so many of us, we all have our own ideas, our own knowledge and skills that we brought to the table in order to make this event possible. And I'm very proud of that. So I just want to say to anybody out there who has ran events, or if you're thinking about running events, it does not matter how big or how small your committee is. What matters is that you have a committee who is strong, dedicated, and committed. And I'm very lucky that I had that, and that I had committee members who had the skills that were needed in order to make this, this event come to life. And so I'm very, very proud of that. So I just want to give a big shout out to my committee members. If you guys see this, thank you so much for everything that you guys, brought on, your knowledge, your skills, your talent, everything that you guys brought to the table to make this event possible. It would not have been possible without you. So I just want to say a big thank you to my committee. Another big challenge was going virtual. So my initial thought when we decided to go virtual, being that the pandemic hadn't really, subsided or left, us, and that we're still in a pretty tough spot right now. I thought it was actually going to be easier, being that we weren't going to have to spend as much money and we weren't going to have to deal with, people in person. I felt it was going to be much easier, but in a lot of ways, it was just as hard, only in a different way. So the challenges with going virtual, unfortunately, myself and none of my committee members are tech experts. And so we had to hire a tech business in order to live stream our event and take care of any potential tech issues. And so that's where we decided to hire Hmong TV. And they are definitely experts in what they do. They held the very first Hmong virtual event, which was the Hmong concert 2020. And I thought that event was phenomenal. Definitely set a very, very high standard for everybody to follow. And that was my model event. As I was planning, I was always watching what they were doing there, and I modeled after that. And so to Hmong TV, Mitch, if you guys are seeing this or watching this, thank you again so much for your help. Could not have done this without you. So thank you so much again. And of course, I appreciate the fact that they offered their services at a price that was within our budget. So we were able to afford it. So thank you again to Hmong TV and to Mitch and your whole team for helping us out with that. So another hard thing about going virtual is knowing that this event was actually mostly live. It was not a bunch of pre-recorded videos that you could just put together and live stream all the way through. So, the MCs were live. All of the panelists panel discussions were live. The only thing that was not live were the introduction performances and the speeches, along with a few performances that Fong did during his keynote speech. So otherwise, the rest of it was all live. And having to manage, when to let panelists in and when they could leave the Zoom, because we use Zoom as the application to live stream this event. It was very, very tough to kind of navigate that, but I'm just glad that everybody did their homework and they listened to my instructions very, very carefully. So everything ran pretty smooth. Of course, it's not going to be 100% perfect, but I felt that it was definitely smooth, and that it was watchable. It wasn't like everybody was so focused on the tech issues. There were little bits, and a little bit here and there with the issues, but we always got it resolved. So I'm just happy about that. All right. Another challenge, of course, last but not least, is uncertainty. And what I mean by uncertainty was I really did not know how the outcome was going to be for this event. The first year that I held this event, I didn't know how it was going to be. And with 60 people showing up to the in-person event, I felt that that was decent for a start. I was hoping to get at least 100, but it doesn't always happen that way. And you learn as you go. And so that's one of the things that I took into account. And I wanted to make it bigger and better. The hard thing was that people did not know about this event. It's not something that, although it's been celebrated every year, it was more so kept at a local level. And now I was kind of bringing it, to a national level, if you might say. And so I wanted it to be big. I wanted people from everywhere, even out of the country, to be watching this event. And so trying to go big with something that people are not familiar with is definitely a challenge. And so marketing was tough, but I felt that if I had something good that could attract their attention, like all these different panel discussions that I would hope they would relate to at least one of them, then I could draw their attention in to that. And so uncertainty was a big challenge for me. And I knew that expectations were high when the flyer went viral because it reached about, I want to say 12,000 people within the first week that it was released in February. And so people were sharing it like crazy. People were excited. And, I that's when expectations for me just kind of shot through the roof, that I knew I needed to, work my butt off to get this event going and ran well. And if anything were to go wrong, I knew it was going to fall on me as chair. And so I took it very, very seriously to put on the best show that I could for the viewers and make it the best possible experience for all of the participants who are volunteering their time to be a part of this event. So I wanted to make it worth their time as well. So to anyone out there who is thinking about running events, whether it be in-person event or virtual events, uncertainty is always going to be a challenge because you never know how things are going to turn out. But all you can do is hope for the best. And at the end of the day, whether you have a big audience or a small audience, listen to what people are saying about your event. And if at the end of our event, the second one here, I didn't see any negative comments. I never got any negative comments at all. Everybody just kept saying it's informative. It's so informative. This is so useful and helpful. And oh, it was so inspiring. That was all that I heard. Although not as many people tuned in on the day of compared to those who came back and watched it after it already went live, I was okay with that. The important thing to me was that it was out there and that it was a resource, and anybody who wanted it could access it for free. I was just happy to be able to put out something like that for anyone who might need it, and so that's what I am most proud of. All right, so what have I learned throughout this whole experience? So first thing, all of the participants have taught me so much about their respective fields. Even the dancers who I know and I can understand the best probably compared to the rest of the panels. Maybe the events as well because I have been fairly involved with that too, but I gotta say I've learned so much from everyone. Everybody brought, different experiences, different ideas to the table, awareness about certain things that I did not know of or I was not thinking about even. And so if I gained that much knowledge being as involved as I am, I'm sure somebody else out there who maybe is not as involved as I am has gained knowledge as well and has gained some inspiration as well. So I'm very proud of that. I've learned what it takes to run a virtual event. Like I said before, it does not come without challenges. Everything comes with challenges, and you have to be up to facing those challenges if you want to run a successful event. And so now that I've done it, I know how it works, and I look forward to running more virtual events in the future, hopefully. So looking forward to that. Lastly, always be prepared for the worst. And what I mean by that is set a deadline that is very early. And the reason why is because you just never know what's going to happen. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, and you always have to be prepared for the worst. And unfortunately, when you kind of you slack on things and you extend the deadline just because you can, that's when things are going to come up, and then you're just going to continue to hold off and hold off and hold off. And so I set very strict and early deadlines, and I expect those deadlines to be met. And I would say that although sometimes it seemed ridiculous, the deadlines that I set, I knew I needed to set it because I just didn't know what could happen and what could possibly interfere with getting these things done. And again, if anything were to go wrong, it falls down to me as chair. All right, so moving forward, what is going to happen from here on out? So I will be taking a break. I have decided, after serving an extended term of 3 years on this committee, I have decided that I will be stepping down. I do hope to come back in the near future, or sometime later, to be able to help run this committee again. Whoever takes over this committee, whether it be right away or somewhere near the future, I hope that they continue to host this conference, and I hope that they will bring new ideas, and different panel discussions, because the ideas for these conferences are endless. And I know that there's so many different topics that are equally as important that can be brought to the table. And so I hope that somebody else does step up and decide to get involved with running this event so that it can continue to run and inspire the next generation for many years to come. So, yep, and again, it was an honor to serve as chairwoman for the last 3 years. It was an experience for me that I will never forget. And lastly, I just want to say a special thanks to my husband John, who has been my rock and always been by my side throughout this whole experience. I want to say thank you to my family for their love and support, and for not only being there for me emotionally, but supporting me and actually participating in this event to make it possible. I want to give a shout out to my committee members once again. I know I did say this before, but if you guys are watching this, thank you again for everything. I could not have done this without you guys, so thank you so much. Thank you to all the conference participants for volunteering your time, and I will say that again, thank you for volunteering your time to participate in making this event possible. I cannot thank you guys enough. And thank you to our sponsors for contributing financially to make this event possible. And lastly, thank you to our viewers. Whether you viewed on the day of when it was live, or if you came back and viewed it after it was posted already, thank you so much for taking the time to come and watch this event and to come and support all of the participants in this event. So I truly appreciate that. So I just want to end, on a note here by saying thank you to everybody who was involved. And again, I hope that in the future, more conferences like this can be done. For those of you who are thinking about running conferences in the future, I hope that this conference will give you some ideas on what you can do. And so thank you once again. It was an honor being chairwoman of the Hmong Heritage Month Committee for the last 3 years. So I hope to see you guys again. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, PY Adventures 91. I hope to see you guys all again soon. Bye!